Select Board meeting. We are down one member. John Cronin will not be with us tonight, so it's Ben and myself and Travis Ahern. And we're going to start by asking Chief Cassidy to come up to the table for the CARES Act and ARPA programmatic update.
Good evening. Two CARES requests for you this evening. First one comes from the Treasurer Tax Collector. It's for a CAMA input. That is the amount of $6,000. So that would be accelerated telework capacity. This would be to help migrate data that was not able to be done manually due to the pandemic. Second one would be some indoor air quality remediation at the police department, in the amount of $5,000. That is cleaning and disinfecting public buildings. So total $11,000 of requests for CARES this evening.
Chief, I'm just going to ask you to tell me the first one again.
It is a CAMA, C-A-M-A report for the Treasurer Tax Collector.
That is a piece of software or hardware?
That is a piece of software.
And the total on that one?
That one is $6,000.
And this is, you said it, I'm repeating it, this is for inputting documents of some sort or bills of some sort that could not be done manually.
It is a digital migration for something that otherwise would need to be done manually. Correct.
And then the second one is cleaning at the police station.
Correct. To support indoor air quality.
Okay. Ben, any questions?
Nope. Good.
Okay, none here either, Chief, thank you. So I will entertain a motion. I will make a motion, move to approve $11,000, including $6,000 for software for the treasurer and $5,000 worth of air quality, indoor air quality improvements at the police station, for a total of $11,000 in CARES Act funds.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
That carries.
And we don't have any ARPA requests yet because the ARPA steering group meets next Wednesday. So that will be after.
Chief, have you received any new requests since your last meeting? Have any?
I believe there was one additional one that came in.
At least one came in through the written services.
Okay.
I know there was another one that was voted on the EDC, but I haven't checked. Physically came in yet.
It is not, we have not received notification that it came in.
So we're expecting one from the EDC. Okay. And you said the 20th?
Correct. At noon.
At noon. I mean, okay.
Chief, I had a question.
Yes.
I noticed today, it came in a little bit later, but there was some, looked like some guidance from ANF about CARES funding retiring, ending on the 29th.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to review that? I don't want to put you on the spot about it if you haven't had a chance to look at it.
I saw that it was in the inbox, but I have not reviewed it yet.
All right, we'll talk about it next week.
Yes. Sure.
Probably better with John too, because I did have some questions. It just sort of clarified about October 29th.
Okay.
Which I know has been on.
And I know it's been big on, it's been something that's been on John's mind, and I just kind of want to just get your thoughts about it, but we can save it for next week. So put it on the
Meeting discussion.
the meeting discussion for next week.
So that is a question I have for you in terms of we have now, well, next Monday will be town meeting business. So then we'll just have the 25th. So what should we expect from on the 25th? Anything formal or just sort of here's where we are and here's what happens next?
I expect that probably as part of your pre-meeting discussion on the 18th, that I may have some wrap up for you.
Okay.
The 25th, based on things getting coded in Munis, is really past the 11th hour. So if we can sort of wrap things up Monday conceptually, that would probably be best. 25th would just be wrap up of any last minute journal entries or transfers. I expect that I will be discussing the logistics of that with the town administrator during our meeting on Friday morning. So that we can.
Okay, and we'll have you back up to the table in a little bit, just a minute or two,
No worries.
for town meeting discussion. So perhaps then we can talk Travis about 2 more posts for this money. Thank you very much, Chief.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Certainly.
All right, so we have warrants next. You're taking over clerk.
You are.
then.
Right along, yeah. Yes. Okay, so we have one warrant. And I will make a motion to approve the warrant in the amount of $1,278,852.12.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Anything else in that folder there for warrants?
There are no.
Okay. Public comments. Ben, do you have any public comments?
We do have a couple. First is there is a winter parking ban reminder. No street parking in the town of Holliston between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. from November 1st through March 31st. All vehicles will be ticketed and towed. Second thing here is a fall curbside leaf pickup reminder. Yale Harvey will be picking up leaves at curbside the week of November 29th, 2021. All leaves must be in compostable bags or loose in trash barrels. Plastic bags will not be accepted. All leaves must be at curbside by 6 a.m. on your designated trash day. And feel free to, if you have any questions, to call the select board's office. And there's also, you'd also be able to use the recycling center if you have additional leaf to discard. I also have, I just want to remind people as well, let me just pull it up real quick. There is a haunted walk at the community garden. I want to make sure I get the timing correct. It is October 30th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And proceeds for the walk will go to the community farm. And it will take place at the community farm, which is off of
Roger?
I think so. I believe so.
The farm's on Rogers Road.
Yeah, Rogers. So it's right off Rogers Road. Right near the nest.
All right,
And that's all I have for public.
thank you very much. I have no public comment tonight, so is there anybody in the room who has public comment? Anybody on the call who has public comment? Seeing no hands raised, we're going to move on to comments from the town administrator.
I have been in town meeting mode. And we'll cover that under number 6. So the only item I would cover separately would be the deputy DPW director posting is advancing here where we are in the process. Most likely would lead to a meeting of the select board on October 25th for an appointment for specifically the highway superintendent role within the deputy DPW director position, which is under the purview of the select board, and we would look to probably have that handled on October 25th for a potential start date of November 1st. But otherwise, everything is sort of moving ahead there. Hopefully, again, as we intended to keep that ahead of the snow and ice season, which theoretically could actually be any day on us, but that's our timeline. So look for that. Obviously, next week, select board will meet before town meeting, but we won't have sort of heavier items like that on your agenda. So that would be for October 25th. Everything else I think will fall under town meeting discussion.
Okay, so we'll move on then to the update on the local rapid response planning report. So if you've been paying attention to our meetings, attending these meetings or reading about them in the Holliston Reporter, mention has been made previously, really over the past, I think we had our first meeting in April of this year. So periodically mention is made of this LRRP or Local Rapid Response Program and the involvement that the town has had through it. We have the final report. The focus here is on a geographic location centered around the downtown commercial district. So between Washington Street up to the Blair Square area. Again, really focused on that Central Street corridor. We have some great information in the report. We had some outside assistance from a group of people that were sent to Holliston by way of a state grant program that brought us this report that Travis is going to introduce tonight. So, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I'm just going to pull up the screen share so people can follow along if they'd like. So if you go to the town's website, we've placed this under boards and committees, economic development. So the EDC has its own website, which is separate from the town's website, but it also has a landing page here, which will lead you there. So again, boards and committees to economic development. The Holliston LRRP report is right here. To be warned, they use a lot of color. I tried to print it and jam the printer. But I think the end result was a good, obviously, a good visual. They have lots of sort of images as well for people to follow along with. So we go very high level with how we got to where we were. As you can see here, the credit goes to DHCD that put together this rapid recovery plan, which quite a few towns in Massachusetts took advantage of, over 100. Essentially what they did was offer towns quote unquote free consulting services to answer some of the questions of how these towns can deal with the impacts of COVID-19 on their local businesses and respond accordingly, essentially. And so the way that this started, it's a very formulaic process that comes through this state agency that put this RRP program together. And so as you can see, they give credit to a variety of groups that were included: the Holliston Economic Development Committee, our local access television, and our community action fund. And then they asked for specific feedback from my office, the select board, which the chair lent her time to this. And then also they needed information from the Board of Assessors. And Mayor Greendale provided quite a bit of information for them, as well as our principal assessor, who's not mentioned here, but thank you to Kathy Pierce. So Nelson Nygaard was the consultant that was assigned to do the report. And again, some of the things in the report, as I read it, there are some things where you say, why is this even needing to be mentioned? They're essentially checking boxes with the way that the grant program is written, and that's just the way that some of these things go. I think there's quite a bit of value, and I'll get into it in a second, that comes out of this. The other people who are mentioned here on this page, outside of Nelson Nygaard, Beta, Goldman and York, and then Ann McFarland, Burke, were the subject matter experts. So your primary consultant, depending on the needs of the community, was allowed a number of hours to contact subject matter experts, which were also covered under the grant program. And so their input is in this report as well. So the table of contents, as you can see at the top, I'm going to skip around very broadly and then just sort of take any questions. I think we're at a stage right now. This was due October 8th. It went in on October 7th. So it is, I think it is, we're in a stage where we should be dissecting this. And as we come out of town meeting next week, have some serious conversations between the select board and some other groups in town on how we'd like to handle some of this information and where we'd like to go with it. I think ARPA comes into play in some categories, specifically because of the economic development component of ARPA, and then obviously this program. But then this consultant also clearly identifies a number of other potential funding categories, namely grants, depending on the recommendation in question. And that's actually part of the LRP as well, right? They're identifying where we may want to go to find funding sources to fund some of these. So again, I'm just going to hit the highlights. I just want to get down to page 17, kind of shows the whole area in question. And I apologize if this is skimming, but again, you can find this through our website. So this is, nope, that is not the page I'm looking for. Excuse me 1 second. So if I'm on page 17 of the PDF, you kind of get a sense of the whole overview here. So the Goodwill Park, obviously, this is our the beginning of our downtown area. And again, because the program is very formulaic, we had to provide them with a zoned area in town. And so our village commercial district in Holliston, the way that our existing zoning works, essentially stretches from what we would consider our downtown area, Goodwill Park, and then all the way over to Blair Square and the businesses in that area of town, right? So again, as the chair mentioned, think of downtown, the Central Street corridor to Blair Square, and a little bit beyond that is what they were tasked with looking at. So they put together quite a bit of information. Again, we can get into it. I just want to cover a couple other things. If you go to page 22 of the report, you get into essentially where they are when it comes to project recommendations. And so they get into some economic development ideas here that they put together. And then we get into, when we get down to page 29, 9. Pedestrian improvements along Central Street, some of that overlaps with the work that we're talking about on the warrant for Monday night, but otherwise, these are things sort of outside of the nuts and bolts that we've been talking about on the warrant when it comes to ADA compliance. Some of these are above and beyond that, right? The experience of walking down Central Street as we're trying to draw people in to go to our businesses is really more their focus. And again, I don't mean to jump around, I just want to kind of cover the highlights. So one other thing that we've heard about from a variety of areas is the potential for connecting our downtown area to an existing wastewater treatment plant, which is at the school complex on Linden. And so we took the opportunity with this because the consultant had access to a subject matter expert who was able to look at wastewater and sort of give an overall look at how that may work in town, is to look at some cost estimates here, enough information that we can kind of ballpark what this may cost the town. And then also look at what that may look like in terms of hooking up residential, retail, office, or restaurants, right? And so each of those have a different component. So the subject matter expert was able to kind of quantify what could be accomplished with our existing wastewater treatment plant and connecting the downtown area to it and everything that it essentially passes, which need to be given the opportunity to hook up to it. So again, this is high level information. The way that I would look at it is we can now have a conversation as a town. If this is something that we'd like to pursue, we would not be able to take this and immediately go to a sewerage project for downtown. That's not where this information is. They were given a certain number of hours, and what they've given us, I would say, puts us in position to design internally through my office as the chief procurement officer, an RFP to do a real design engineering of what this may look like. And that's going to take a lot of resident input, but it would really start from, if this concept, the way that it is sort of detailed in this report, is of interest to the individuals who brought it up previously. One was an individual as a resident, but as also a finance committee member, wrote a letter to the select board, which it received. The economic development committee has had a fair bit of conversation on sewers, and then this board, sort of independently of those, but also in conjunction, has had conversations as well. So I think we have enough information here to have a high level conceptual conversation over whether we'd like to pursue that. And if we do, I'm confident, based on the information we have from this consultant, that we could put together an RFP to approach design engineering. And again, the way that the American Recovery Plan Act, the ARPA funds are designed, it does allow for us to look at wastewater infrastructure, and this would fall into that category. So I think it's something for us to discuss. We're not going to finalize that tonight, but again, the value that we can take from this consulting on a variety of different options are really more for us to take this and decide where the community wants to go with it. Those are the only ones that I was going to specifically highlight, but obviously this is a 46-page report. Again, some of it, when you look at it and you say, why would they write X, Y, or Z? It might be because they're checking boxes for DHCD, but a lot of it, again, I think we can get some substantial value out of this report. They do touch on a couple other items that we have ongoing, the 9 Green Street, and what that could do for the downtown area. They touch on the Blair Square because they were aware of where the Blair Square committee was with their design, with their engineer. So they put some of that information in here specifically to try to make it all encompassing. But again, some of it is playing off of the information that the town has already been out there trying to procure, and they just wanted to make sure that they were thinking about it holistically.
Travis, we've been asked in the past, at least twice in my memory, to provide our state representatives, so Senator Spilka and Representative Dykema, a list of what we were looking at doing with ARPA funds. We've talked about, certainly here at the table and elsewhere, a sewer project. This is the first formal report of any sort that we have that we could then present to our state reps to say, we have a legitimate beginning of a plan to address sewer in the downtown area. This is something we could use to present to our state reps, our interest in having sewer in downtown Holliston.
I would agree with that statement.
We don't have anything else really of this formal sort of professional level of a look at this idea other than this report.
No, and I don't want to I don't want to pump anybody's tires too much here, but I would say I've dealt with water and wastewater infrastructure issues in my career at the MWRA. And my take on what Beta, who was the subject matter expert in this, was they understood the assignment and they provided us with absolutely the maximum amount of value they could with the format they were provided and the number of hours they were allocated. And they gave us what we can use to move forward if the town wants to, right? I think that we can have a conversation with anybody who doesn't like to get into the nuts and bolts of wastewater, which is 99.9% of the population, and have a realistic conversation of what it looks like for what we have existing and how that can connect to the downtown and have a conversation on that. And if the town wants to move forward, you're right, I would go to Rep. Dagma, Senator Spilka, I would look internally at what we have available through ARPA, and I would come up with a plan if this is something that we think is viable.
I just see a tremendous value in having a report that outlines it in the way that this has. It gives us a very good position from which we now move forward.
I agree.
I would take it a step further too, because I think there's other pieces in this report.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about on the warrant about sidewalks and trying to fix up some of the corridor. But, you know, there were certainly some areas that were mentioned specifically with respect to things like infrastructure. You know, making the parking lot behind the fire station a little more well-known. I'm not sure what the right term is, like, more visible, I guess you could say, you know, and fixing some of the infrastructure in that vicinity as well. And then, you know, things with signs, so people are aware as they're using Blair Square, if they're coming from out of town, that there's opportunities and there's economic, there's a corridor here of things that people can go engage with if they're inclined to do so. So I would even take it a little bit step further that while I think the sewers, you know, I think we need to have a little bit of a conversation about what we want to do downtown, but I think we should open it up a little further than that to sort of say, you know, are there other things that we can do here to try to create more engagement with the economy in the downtown? I think we need to have sort of a little bit bigger conversation about some of the other pieces as well, you know, just the sewers.
When we go into town meeting on Monday night with this report up there for folks to read, with us having a good understanding of it, with many people in the room having a pretty good understanding of it, and that they just received it. This sets up very good deliberation discussion at town meeting this October on the 9 Green Street article, this October on the Article 12 on the sidewalk article, and then in May, assuming Blair Square moves in the direction of presenting something at town meeting in May, we've got it again. This report makes it very clear through the research they did and the prep work that they did that we're taking steps in the right direction to have a significant impact on our downtown and commercial district. So we couldn't be in a better position heading into Monday than we are right now, in my opinion, with this report. To have people from the outside with the technical and professional experience to look at what would benefit Holliston in terms of economic development and strengthening that corridor. This is a great report.
But I think we need to think about it as, yeah, step one, and thinking about like what are the action items we want to have beyond, you know, and from this report, so we can make sure that, you know, in the next 5-10 years that we're doing, you know, however long we need for time frame, doing as many things as we can to try to spruce things up and help create a little create more activity for the downtown.
Then if we want to, if we want an action item, we've got Article 10, we've got our, like right out of the gate.
Right, and but we're also talking about Goodwill Park, because we're talking about, you know, putting in money towards Goodwill Park, you know, are there other places, are there other things that we can do? Are there other ways to create more activity in this part of things and try to get people out of their cars so they're actually out and spending time in the stores and restaurants. And
Tongue in cheek here, but it must be nice if you're Kevin Connolly to know that a group of outside experts also think that improvements to Blair Square are. Kevin Connolly just walked in the room.
Running through my veins.
I would I would agree with what Mr. Sparrow just said, and I would just say sort of some of the larger picture things, this is about planning, right? It's about if we want to pursue sewerage, it's going to be really about sort of starting that conversation, getting the community involved in it, discussing the possibilities of how we would fund it, but also what it would look like, right? I think a lot of the information they presented to us has to do with the more hookups we have, and depending on the way that the path would work, impacts, what type of capacity we have in the system, right? So all of those conversations take a little bit more leeway. To your point, there's some specific things in here about, to your term, sprucing up of Central Street, where, our warrant for Monday has really focused on sort of the nuts and bolts, ADA compliance, those types of things. And that is helpful to that point, as is 9 Green Street, which they identify, and we're moving ahead on. But the other things, this is a tool, I would say, not only for the select board, but for the EDC to be formulating, requests, whether it be through ARPA or other funding sources. They have identified funding sources, so now I could work directly with the EDC to put in grant opportunities for that on the town's behalf. Similar for some other ideas that they have in here. So you're right. I think that there's a couple things in here that dovetail with what we're talking about on Monday, and there's a couple things in here that probably are better for us to have a conversation between the select board, maybe the EDC, maybe another party, and determine, is this an idea that they've come up with that is good for the town? And do we want to go for a grant opportunity? Do we want to be requesting ARPA funding? I think the EDC had that conversation at the last meeting. I wasn't there, but they met right before this report was released as well, but they knew that the report was coming. Obviously, as I mentioned, Matt Coletti through the EDC was part of this process. And so, I think that again, their next meeting will be important for them to dissect this, see what they feel are priorities as their role on the EDC, and the select board the same, and a couple other groups as well.
Travis, when I look at the grant list or possible funding sources, which is page 45 of the actual report, I see 6 in total. I see 1, the bottom of the list, state revolving loan program that we do participate in. We have applied to in the past. I see shared streets and spaces, but we did a very small application to that. I think, we'll have another one coming through the shared streets and spaces program. But I see 4 other grant programs that I'm not familiar with Holliston having applied to before. So my question would be, like, as we look to tap into these funding resources, who's our grant writer? Like, who's going to be tasked in your mind? Who do you see delegating the work of applying to these grant programs? Do you see that sort of falling to the EDC and you assist as they write them? Are you ready to have that conversation, or is that let's get through town meeting, come back and talk about it later?
It really depends. In a variety of these, it just falls to my office. I think having an assistant town administrator is going to change the dynamic of and sort of our internal capacity for reaching out to some of these grant opportunities. They are intentionally create labor, right? That's part of the EMO. And so, right, I think we've increased our internal capacity to do that with the ATA position. I would just give the example of recently, we went through the One Stop for Growth grant opportunity. The feedback that we got was really the housing production plan was the one that they thought was most viable in terms of our grant applications. That one fell within the town planner's realm, who works with the housing authority. And so Karen Sherman and I ended up sort of ushering in that grant opportunity, which, I believe will come to fruition for us. And, it really does come down to, in some of these, it's tapping the correct expertise, but the overall process usually is going to run through my office, except for a couple scenarios. The EDC helping in writing those types of things, being involved in it is generally helpful, right? Having the EDC specifically for the LRRP was important. But then generally, when the funds come into the town, they're also being overseen by the town accountant and myself, the treasurer collector. And so, always a role for the town, even if the Economic Development Committee, as your example, is involved in the application, the town is overseeing the funds.
So I hear you saying we are set up for success in applying to these grant funding programs, in large part because we're bringing in a new assistant town administrator. That position is going to be a resource for what we're in a good position to launch on looking to apply to some of these grant programs, because we have the additional capacity, I think was the word that you I guess I have one question then. The EDC had an FY22 budget request for a staff position for an admin, part-time admin. Have they tabled that? Are they still pursuing that?
They are still pursuing their an RFP for the services through a contract model, I think 1099 versus a part-time staffer, I think W2.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I think I'll just follow up. I think it's important that this is great and I really like what's in there. I think there's a lot of great information, but I want to make sure that we can build on that and create momentum for in the future, because there's multiple plans, and I want to make sure that, like, if we have something big like sewers, it doesn't overtake some of the smaller plans, and then make sure that we still can hit on these other things even while we're trying to do something bigger. And if something falls through or takes a little bit longer, it's not holding back other opportunities for development. You know me, I like to plan. I like plans.
Do we have any, this is a new report, so lots of folks are seeing it for the first time. Any public comment or any questions?
Kevin, you guys talk about anything?
Is it the rapid recovery plan?
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we're talking about.
No, it was, how was that initiated?
I'll have you want to come up to the table?
Yeah, we need you on the mic.
Oh, sorry,
You don't
Okay.
know, come on.
it's been a long time.
Name, address.
Let's take it.
Date of birth, social security number.
Are we looking for another select board member tonight? For now one.
Hi, Kevin Colley, 44 Cranberry Lane, discussing the rapid recovery plan. It looked amazing to me. I just looked the whole thing over and it was absolutely overwhelming. A lot of good information. Somebody did a lot of work on this. So I was wondering, how was this initiated? How did this come about?
Yeah, I think we covered that right before you came
Oh,
in.
sorry.
So, no, it's fine. This is a state grant program. This was answering a lot of questions from municipalities on sort of how to recover from COVID-19, especially for small businesses. DHCD within the Commonwealth put this program together. And essentially the program was established to provide consulting services to each community, come in and look at the community, determine areas where they may want to tap some subject matter experts, and then provide them the ability to go engage with subject matter experts. In this instance, it was they're listed here, Beta, Goldman and York, and Ann McFarland Burke, who assisted Nelson Nygaard, who was the primary consultant. And then this report was due October 8th with input from the community, which was the EDC, HCAT, and the Community Action Fund with the Select Board, the assessors, and myself.
Okay. Because looking at it, I actually love the ideas of the plan. Connecting downtown with the Blair Square area for one business district, that people can come and do more business with the people there and walk back and forth in a congenial manner and take baby carriages down sidewalks. That's a book to me now. And that's all really, really phenomenal. They had a lot of the potential growth at Blair Square that we also see a lot of potential growth at Blair Square and people coming to that more than ever, and hopefully visiting the coffee shop, visiting the restaurants, visiting the drugstores, everything in between, even to potentially more businesses arriving in the area. I think right now we're 12–15% business on the tax rolls, somewhere around there, which is on the low side.
Yeah.
So a few more businesses would not be a bad thing.
Helping the ones that are here too.
Oh, absolutely. And it might make their businesses worth more value to them, which would be a nice idea.
Blair Square could serve as a gateway into the community. Some people come and engage with Blair Square, engage with the rail trail, and they can use that as a springboard to go downtown.
Oh, the plans for the renovations of Blair Square are phenomenal. And they would bring a lot of business and a lot of people to the area for all sorts of different events,
Absolutely.
from seniors to juniors and everything in between, all at different times. In
Absolutely.
fact, talking to the Lions Club, they're putting up extra lights this year at Blair Square.
Are they?
Holiday lights.
Nice.
But they're talking about putting the Christmas tree sale up there. The Holliston Parents Club last had a Christmas tree sale 20 years ago down by the Depot package store on Woodland Street. I ran it for a couple of years. And that stopped and it was never picked up. They would love to do something like that at Blair Square. And, have a short inventory so it goes quick, but get people down in the area in a festive mood, enjoying the restaurants, the businesses, and make it move forward. Plus it'll all happen and be gorgeous for the town.
I can't think of an area that sees rather more than 500 people a day walking through. I'm not even sure our schools do.
Oh, it's incredible.
So I agree with you. It's a hub for sure.
Yes. So the plan looked great. I mean, I was amazed. I passed it out to the Blair Square committee. They all saw it. They all liked it. It was really, really good.
And I think I'd shared with you a page that had the grant opportunities that were related to Blair Square.
Yes, we have to do some more work.
Okay.
So give us some more money.
That is good.
Minor details.
For sure. Nice
Thank
to
you,
see you,
Kevin.
Thank you
Kevin.
for having me.
Thank you.
Anything else on this topic?
That's it.
Alright.
I think we'll be seeing it come up quite a bit more, but again, it was due on the 8th. We got it in. I think it does not work against anything we have on Monday. It supports those items, but it goes beyond what we have contemplated for Monday, so more to discuss in the future.
Thank you for your work on this. This was something that you brought under your own initiative, and you're capable of doing that all the time, and you do it all the time, but in terms of something I'd never heard of before, when you dropped this as an idea way back in the spring, I was really pleased that you had, and here we are today with the fruits of all that labor, so thank you very much for that. So we're gonna move on to number 6 here, the October fall town meeting discussion, and we're gonna ask Chief Cassidy to come back up to the table for what hopefully is a much more logistically easy town meeting plan than the past couple ones.
This will look much like the October of 2019 town meeting, in that folks will come in the front door, they will check in with the registrars by precinct, they will get their informational material, the colored voting slip, they will be able to walk into the auditorium, they will be able to select the seat of their own choosing. They can choose to huddle together with their closest friends, or they can choose to spread out and give themselves a little bit of distance to their neighbors. But there are over 900 seat capacity in the auditorium, so there's plenty of room for people to spread out if they don't want to be right up on top of folks. Because this is a school building, because the school committee has a policy in place that governs the use of approved face coverings, anyone attending town meeting must wear an approved face covering at all times, including when standing up and speaking with the microphone, when in their seat. And so just remember baseline expectations that you are coming to a school, we are a guest of the school, their policy for visitors is approved face coverings, and we just want to be respectful of their rules as they host us. And that's pretty much it in terms of the overarching logistics. Is business as usual. And just if you're not feeling well, if you've been exposed to somebody who's recently had a diagnosis, regardless of your vaccination status, because we understand that breakthrough cases occur even among the vaccinated. There's still research suggesting that even a vaccinated individual can be an asymptomatic carrier. If you fit in any of those categories, stay home, watch it on cable, read about it the next morning in the Holliston Reporter, but please be respectful of your neighbors and friends, and don't come if you coming and participating could potentially jeopardize the health and safety of others.
And it's worth mentioning that the quorum for town meeting is 100, so we would love to have at least 101 people in the room. And also that if we could, we probably would do some sort of virtual voting, but we are not allowed by state law. We are an open town meeting, and therefore we have to take votes in person in the one room together.
And you as a select board do not have any wiggle room on that. Would require a legislative fix. So people who are grieved by the fact that remote participation is not possible, your board is not the object of that frustration. They will take it up with the state, because there were a lot of things that came out of COVID-19 and the adjustments that the legislature has made, which have enhanced participation in regular weekly meetings, but they still haven't quite tackled remote participation for open town meeting yet. There's time.
And again, worth pointing out that you've done a successful job of holding multiple town meetings during the pandemic, and we have never had any contact tracing that relates to faculty activities at town meeting, and our our positivity rate is very low.
Correct, and the schools are in session, full, full attendance with people in close proximity to each other with all the same mitigation steps in place in terms of mask requirements, in terms of frequent hand sanitizing. So we have every reason to believe that for a 2.5, maybe 3 hour meeting on Monday evening, next week in the auditorium, a room which has air handlers, which are changing over the air and are filtered, that it will be a safe operating environment for us to conduct town business.
Could you just speak briefly about any steps after town meeting cleanup? What are we going to be doing after?
Sure, so the schools do have the in-house capacity to use a backpack sprayer, which is an electrostatic sprayer, which decons all of the seats.
Like Ghostbusters?
And exactly, and the tables where the checkers have been and everything that is utilized by us will be sprayed before it is utilized the next morning for educational purposes. All of those systems are in place and are used early on.
I have full faith and confidence in your abilities. You've done this before under more trying circumstances.
And again, it's a great partnership with the schools. They are not quite open to outside groups yet. However, we are an exception because they recognize the role that this meeting plays in the governance of the community. So we will respectfully, stay within the rails that they've set up for us, but I expect that it will be a safe and productive meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna move on then
Just
to.
gonna-
Sorry. yes,
Sorry,
please.
can I just pull up for the viewing public? Where to find. So if you go to the main page of the Town of Holliston's website, townofholliston.us, fall town meeting here, originally had the warrant specifically, and now obviously has the document that includes the finance committee recommendations. It includes all of the same backup information, including the appendices that were in the warrant. But this has, after each article, it has the finance committee recommendations, which were voted last Tuesday night. And otherwise does not include any additional appendices, but this document is available online. A variety, copies have been sent to a variety of places, including some of the small businesses in the downtown area, in addition to the ones that we do by regular course, which would be the library, the COA, copy to the police station, and some other places that we do as commonplace. We have begun during COVID to try to make it into some small businesses and other places where people congregate, get copies out there. It's obviously available online and push it through social media as well. I just want everybody to be aware this is available online. It is the full warrant plus finance committee recommendations and the appendices that we had previously discussed.
Travis, I hope this is the last warrant that you taken on.
A lot of help from Chris Mayo, Chief Cassidy, and some other people who helped me review these.
Yes, a lot of help, yes.
But it's yeah, anyway.
It's a village to write the
online.
warrant.
Okay, so
Thank
we're gonna move on then. Are you all set?
Yes.
We're gonna move on to board business, and we're going to look to approve meeting minutes of September 20, 2021. So
I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of September 20th, 2021.
I'll second those, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right, we have an appointment of Jason Breslau to be associate member of the town force committee. I believe we have folks who'd like to probably speak. Hi, Jason. Hi, Joanne. Thank you for joining us. Are you both unmuted? Yes.
Yes, I am. Yep. And you are too, Jason.
I am.
Okay, here we are.
Okay. Joanne, did you want a minute to introduce Jason?
Yes, Jason Breslow is a resident of Holliston, and also that he had expressed an interest in the area of conservation in Holliston. He also has a great interest in the town forest area. He has traversed that top to bottom and everything, and he did express an interest in becoming involved. And we were definitely happy about having him come aboard. As you know, I mean, we tried to be as active as possible, but we do have issues that do come up that can require to have a whole lot of other people involved in activities. For instance, in the past, we have been battling the emerald ash borer. I do hear that there's a remedy that may be coming up for it, but now we have the spotted lanternfly in the area. So we do have some conservation areas which would affect the town forest, which happens to contain a lot of trees. So I know that Jason is coming aboard as an associate member. They are, associate members are just as valuable as all the other types of members that we have on the board, and we're happy to have him join us.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for the work you're doing on behalf of Town of Holliston through the Town Forest Committee. Jason, did you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Hi, sure. Yeah, I've lived in Holliston for 15, 16 years now. And I've taken a lot of advantage of our wonderful open spaces and spent a lot of time in the town forest. And I feel like the town forest has given me a lot, and it's time for me to give a little bit back.
Are you a mountain biker? Are you a hiker? Are you a rock climber? Are you a?
I'm a trail runner predominantly, but I do
Okay.
also a lot of trail walking.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So we've got the, hang on one second while we get our documents in order here, and we'll go move for the appointment. You do? Okay, go ahead.
Just before I make a motion, just wanted to say, Jason, thank you very much for participating in this. Just reminding people out there that, you know, volunteering is such an important part of the community.
Mhm.
And a lot of our governments and committees, we need volunteers, and so we really appreciate you stepping up to participate and to help out the community. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jason Breslow to the Holliston Town Forest Committee, and the term will expire on June 30th, 2022.
Okay, then I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jason, thank you very much. And we're going to keep you on past 2022, but we'll have to do it formally when the time comes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Hearing from my
volunteering.
office relatively soon.
Nice to see you both. All right, we're going to move on then to accept a donation from Aronian Landscaping to the police department.
Sure. I will make a motion to receive a $500 donation from Aronian Landscaping and Design to the police gift accounts. I made that motion.
Did you see the dollar amount?
$500.
Okay, I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Okay, we have a permit for the turkey trot on November 25th.
All right, I will make a motion to issue an event permit for the Holliston Turkey Trot that will be held on Thursday, November 25th, 2021, beginning and ending at the Holliston High School.
I will second that with one question. It's a run? It's like a 5K?
It's a run walk.
A run walk?
It is a 5K referenced in this.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
You have the normal memo from
Yeah.
Chief Stone.
It's left out on Hollis, left on Prentice, right on Mill, left on North Mill, left on Hargrave, to Bonnie, left on Prentice, and back to school.
It's been so long, I forget all these things. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that carries. All right, we have an event permit for 87 Jeffrey Avenue, live music as a fundraiser on the 16th of October, which is coming up.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve a one-time event permit for 87 Jeffrey Avenue on October 16th. The event is from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's a grand opening for an animal isolation facility.
Okay, so I will second that.
Actually, it's not.
E and F do go.
I was
together.
just about to ask that.
Yeah, we-
After it's already there, so it's a different
Two
motion.
motions. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the event permit for Safe With Us Animal Rescue for their event on the 16th, 12 to 5. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Okay, and then the last one.
And then the last one is for that same event, they're a nonprofit and they're requesting that we waive the one-time fee of $100 for the event. So I will make a motion to waive the $100 fee for the 87 Jeffrey Avenue fundraiser on October 16th.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries. Okay, so we are done with board business. We're moving on to other business. And any other business?
I do not have any other business.
I don't either, Travis, do you? Should we just, we got some airtime here. It's only 7:53. We're gonna,
What the record? We've done
it
it 4 days
is
before.
definitely not the record, but
That's close.
we're getting close. So I think Monday night will make up for it next week.
Everybody come on Monday night.
Yeah, everybody come Monday.
Yeah,
night.
please come Monday night. All right,
The
we'll
auditorium.
entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:53.
I will second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. See you Monday night.